Hello, and welcome to this version of Activator Lifestyle, where I'm discussing how people adapt their work life to use the various technologies that are available to us right now. And I've got Jill Carding, who's my sister, who happens to be also based in Spokane in the United States and has had a long career in journalism, more recently a career in water technology. Jill will tell us a lot more about that, but she's been traveling around the USA working on that. And I'm really interested to hear how she's been using technology in that career to sort of further the opportunities and how it's affecting her lifestyle, really. So, hi, Jilly. Great to have you here. I wondered if I could ask you, first of all, a tiny bit about your career and how you sort of got into the water industry.
Okay, well, I'll try and do that fairly quickly. So, in my career as a journalist, I came to realize how important water is for communities. Insufficient water supply often is equated with poverty, and sufficient water supply is equated with better prosperity. So when I eventually left journalism, I decided that I would like to work with water and started looking at the use of water in the Western USA. Western USA basically relies on water delivery from rivers and reservoirs that have been built. It's not like other parts of the USA where there's sufficient rainfall and such, and so water does not have to be delivered to the site.
So that sounds very technical right away, and I'm assuming that that's meant a lot of online technology to help you perhaps travel, to help you actually in your work on your marketing and also potentially, I suppose, on the product itself. So maybe breaking that down, first of all, with the water supplies and so on, is that the case? Did you have to use different software and so on?
Well, actually, I've been more involved in the sales side of it. So in the Western USA, there are thousands of miles of man-made irrigation canals that were built sometime within the last 100 or so years to move water from reservoirs or rivers to farms. And so where I was more in the sales, like how do you modernize those canals? So I use technology more for mapping the canals. Where are they? Where did they get their water from? Who makes the decisions about those canals, and how to reach district managers in America? They're formed into irrigation districts. How to reach those district managers with messages about how they can modernize their canals. And what some of the products that I have been selling to those districts, they also involve the use of technology.
Wow. Have you ever used drones at all for any of that work?
I have not personally, but drones have been used a lot for mapping canals and looking at the terrain around them.
So I'm assuming that you've done a lot of traveling around with this, have you? Was it mostly in the Spokane area or other regions?
Oh no, Spokane is about 300 miles east of Seattle, about 60 miles south of the Canadian border and very close to the border with the state of Idaho. But I stationed myself in Spokane because I've worked in Arizona, California, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho. So I stationed myself in Spokane so that I could have access to a good airport, move around the Western USA fairly easily.
So how important has the internet been to you sort of running your business?
Well, the internet has been important. Most of my communication is done via email. Very few actual phone calls these days. In the last 20 years, it has changed. That's how long I've been working in this field. It was much more personally based 20 years ago. But now a lot of work is done via email and Zoom calls. the Western USA is huge. So it's helpful if you don't actually have to be everywhere for meetings. Although I do have to get to places to look at the canals and look at solutions on the canals.
Okay, so I understand that sort of area of your career, you're gradually slowing that down. What do you aim to be doing? I know that in the past you've been a journalist and doing an awful lot of writing, and I assume that's also come into your work, has it?
Well, it's been useful. Writing white papers and letters and newsletters that I've been able to send to customers. I had a company for 15 years called Fix Canal. So I would send out newsletters and case studies of places where we had improved performance of canals. I am winding down now towards retirement and moving back more into the PR field, where I'm writing more about successes within the water industry and how technology can improve farming techniques, for example. The basic premise is to produce more food with less water.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it, as we get more environmentally conscious. What about the difference, do you think, between, if you still recall the difference between the UK and the USA, what you've kind of experienced there, do you think people are more reliant on online, or there's any difference at all?
I'm not sure that there is a lot of difference. I think the difference has been generational for me. Older people, older boomers, have found it more difficult to adapt to new technology. So, sometimes I've had to adapt my sales techniques to dealing with people who really don't want to deal with technology too much. But younger people that I've dealt with, they want technology. They absolutely want it. And if you're not coming up with a technological solution, they're probably not all that interested.
Have you got kind of ambitions to do more online? What's your kind of feeling at the moment as you slide into having more time to yourself?
Well, I'm definitely going to continue to rely on online activity for communicating. I'm not a person who uses Facebook or social media very much. It doesn't particularly interest me. So for me, technology means continuing to communicate in whatever work I continue to do, more than it being important to me socially.
So you've said, we've alluded to the fact that you really find the environment very important, and probably other social aspects around the world. Is that niche that you're hoping to, perhaps do a little bit more work in?
I'm still interested in the value of water, and with climate change, rainfall, storms, changes in the climate are affecting the society I know, which is the Western USA. So I think to continue to communicate solutions is very important.
Well, I think just the very fact that we can have such an interesting chat right here on Zoom is showing how well this technology works. And one of the releases I've just done is about how important it is to, when you're working, especially as people work more and more from home, to be able to get online and talk to other people face to face, as we are here, really. I think that's really important for inspiration. And just listening to you, it's interesting to sort of get a perspective from what is, the other side of the Atlantic anyway.
Yeah, I don't honestly feel there's much difference between Europe and here. The only difference is it's geographically huge, America. So traveling around is time consuming and expensive. So Zoom meetings and other types of meetings online are very important.
Well, listen, Jill, thanks very much for this short interview. I thought what I'd do is just have a kind of a first level interview with you to understand a little bit more about where you're up to right now. And then hopefully, if you're in agreement to it, I'll come back at another stage and probe a little bit deeper about possibly some of the ideas that you're going to move on to as you slide into a different stage of your life. Is that
Absolutely.
Okay? Okay,
yes.
thanks very much.